Hey, Ethan, how are you?
All right. You?
Good. Well, we're going to have some announcement tonight, so hang out.
No problem.
Okay. This is business.
Good evening, Professor.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, Professor. Thank you so much.
Okay. What's going on?
Good evening, Professor. How are you?
How you doing, Rosero? How's
Okay.
everything?
Everything's well, thank you. And you?
All right. I'm hanging in there, my dear. I want to wait for a few more people to show up because there's an announcement. Major. Because I don't want to repeat myself.
Good evening, Professor.
Hi, Bella. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, my dear. All right, we'll start in a couple of minutes. There's some major announcement coming up. So we'll wait. Just wait for a couple of more people. I don't want to repeat myself. I just said that.
Okay.
One minute. I'll start at 8:07, and then whoever missed it will catch it on I guess, my recordings or whatever. And hear me out really carefully. Okay, listen to this. I've decided that we are not going to do chapter 8, all right, because we're pressed for time. Okay? We're going to do chapter 7, and from 7, we're going to go to 9, and from 9, we're going to have to review. Now, what I did was I added quite a few questions from the midterm to the final, right? Because a lot of people did not do well on the midterm, right? And some people did well. I can't go by that, right? So I added quite a few questions from the midterm to the final. Now, the final is going to be 25 questions, but keep in mind that a lot of those questions, about 8 or 9 questions, let me just be sure. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so the final is on chapter 2, 4, 7, and 9. Okay, 2, 4, 7, and 9. That's what the final is going to be on. It's going to be 25 questions, and I'm skipping. We're not doing chapter 8. We're not doing chapter 8. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want to have quite a lot of reviews. We're going to do a few reviews. That way, I'm thinking even of adding a class on my own, right, on a Monday, on that Monday. So we do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the last week. So that way there are no excuses. I don't want to hear anything about we didn't have enough time. Everybody has to be really good at this. We have to be like profound. We have to be like focused. So that's why I noticed that if I add the chapter 8, we won't have time to review the way I want us to review. And plus what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of issues, right? So that way everybody has a chance to do well in the exam. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So any questions? The test is on the 25th, which is a Tuesday, and it's during class time. Hold on one second. The Monday, what last week of school is the 10th, right? 10th to, so maybe 10, 11, and 13 will be the review dates that I'm going to have so far. Okay? Yes or no?
Professor, just to recap, I'm confused actually. So we have final coming from chapter 2, chapter 4, chapter 7, and chapter 9. Only 4 chapters.
That's right.
Okay.
That's it.
And whatever you cover in the quiz and homework, that only will come from these chapters.
100%. There are no surprises with me. Were there any surprises on the midterm?
No, you were very clear on that. No.
None. So same thing here. And then you have your give me question. I told you guys about that, right? So that's why I'm telling you, this is the thing that I always say, right? Before we start, I don't want to sound like I'm nagging, whatever, right? People who don't come to class, right? People who don't show up, when you have an extra, it's 4 points, right? A give me question, and you know what it is, right? Everybody, I'm not even going to say what it is, but everybody who's been in class knows what I'm talking about the give me question, right? So I'm not even going to bring it up. I'm not even going to bring it up anymore. You know what it is. That's an extra 4 points. Now, the midterm questions, you've been over it, you've done it, right? You should get all of them right. You should have all of them right. You shouldn't have a problem, right? So if there are 8 questions from the midterm, you should get all of them right. So there's 36 points right there that you should get all of them right. And last time there were 2 or 3 people that got perfect grades, and I believe it's going to be more this time. And I tell you, if you want to redeem yourself, always redeem yourself on the final. Right? Always redeem yourself on the final. That's how I used to do it when I was in school. I wasn't doing well in the class. I waited for the final exam and did my best. All right. So once again, I'm going to say it, and you could share it with everyone, and they're going to see it on this recording. People who aren't here, right? The test is on the 25th of May. Okay. We're not doing class time. We are not doing chapter 8. We're not doing net present value. I skipped that, right? We're going to go right into capital budgeting, which is chapter 9, right? We're going to do 7, 9. Right? The midterm is 2, 4, 7, and 9. I'm sorry, the final. 2, 4, 7, and 9. Yes, Michelle?
So
Yes,
chapter 6 won't be on the.
Michelle, I can't hear you. Please,
Chapter 6 won't be on the final one?
hold on 1 second. Let me see. Did I miss? Hold on. Wait. Maybe I missed that. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I didn't put anything from chapter. I got to look at it. Let me just look at it one more time just to be sure, because 6 should be on there. I got to look at it one more time. Okay? I'll let you know. I'll let everybody know. But this is my decision. Okay? So we'll look at it in a few minutes. I'll look at it later, because right now I'm trying to get things organized. Because what I'm looking at is that we have a lot of people that have good grades, and we have a lot of people that don't have so many grades that are like iffy. But I know those people can do well, can do better. So that's why I'm giving everybody a chance. All right, give me 1 second, Michelle.
Professor, would you be able to open up the midterm for the next day or two so I could review it and then close it up again before the final?
Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I will open up the midterm.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Where's Michelle? I did add it. I don't know why it's not showing on the page, but I did add it. I did add Bob Bonds. Definitely, I did.
Got it.
I did add about Bonds. Yes, Soel. I did add 2, 4, 6. Well, what the only thing that we're not covering, the only thing is chapter 8. Okay? Are you
Professor,
okay?
I have a question. So you said chapter 2 is financial statement, chapter 4 time value of money, then chapter 6 you just added, you said bond valuation, chapter 7 is stock valuation, and chapter 9 is capital budgeting. So these are the 5 chapters now.
Right. Hold on to that for now. Hold on to that for now. And I'm going to make it official on Thursday again, just to be sure. I'll tell you exactly. Okay, just hold on to that. I want to get started because I'm you know, I'm pressed for time. Let me get started, okay? All right? Soel?
Sure, Professor, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So it says if you own 19,000 shares stock of Nike and it pays 22 cents per share, then what is your total dividend you will receive? So all you have to do here is say 19,000 times 0.22, and that's your answer, right? The dividend amount that they're paying per share is 22 cents, right? At the last lecture, remember what I told you. And then you multiply that by the amount of shares. So 22 times 19, 0.22 times 19,000 is what? Anybody?
It's 4180.
14,000?
4,180.
So that's how much you're going to be getting from Nike. Now, let me explain what happens. When you own 19,000 shares, a lot of times, let's say it could be a small company or it could be an individual, right? They wouldn't take this money. What they would do is tell the broker, whomever at Nike, who was running this account, they would tell them to buy more shares of Nike. So the next dividend payment will be even, when they calculate the next dividend payment, if it's even higher than this 22 cents, or if it is still 22 cents, it'll be done with more shares, and then they can buy even more shares of that. You get it? This will go up next time. Let's say they bought 1,000 shares. Now this will be like 20,000. And that's how they do their calculation. And that's how they keep going more and more and more. That's how they would do it. But most likely they wouldn't take this cash. All right, now look at this. Right? You're assuming, to make it easy, assume there are 100 shares of Class A and 100 shares of Class B. Right? It says Class B has 5 times the voting right of Class A. Right? So we're going to say Class B. So total number of votes, right, is 100, right, for the first one. And then the second, the Class A has 500, right, 5 times as much. So 100 plus 500 equals 600. Now it's saying if you own 20% of the Class A shares and 24% of the Class B shares. So you're going to say 20 times 100 plus 24 times 100 times 5 is 140. Then you divide the 140 by the 600, and it gives you the total amount of percentage points that you are allowed to vote. Okay? Right? Assume it's 100 shares. And it's that way for if you see this again on the quiz. Right? If you see this on the quiz. Right? So here should be 23.3. Right? This is really how it works also. Right? Depending on the shares that you own, and some shares carry more weight than the other shares. Right? You might have the Class A, the Class B that you have are preferreds. So you might have 5 times the voting power as someone who just has regular shares. Right? And you might be someone who's been in with the company a long time and you own quite a few shares. Right? So that tells you right away how much power you have. So again, here you're going to say Class A. So it's a total of 600. Right? Class B has 5 times the voting right. So one, is 100 right off the bat. And the other one is 5 times that. So you add them together. Then it's telling you, recall that you own 20% of Class A, right? So of your voting right. That's what you're trying to figure out, your voting power. So 20% times 100 plus 24% times 500, 0.24. You're converting this into a decimal because you can't do this. It has to be converted into a decimal. That equals to 100. Then you calculate your percentage. And then you convert this into a decimal. You move the decimal place 2 places to a percentage, right? This is already a decimal. You move the places right here, 2 places, and then you come 23.3. Now, one of the things that when you're doing the shares, right, is make sure that these little things right here, take copies of them, right? Because when you're doing the quiz, don't assume that you know it. You can print this out, I think, and then use that as your guide. This is giving you the stock price already, right? This is giving you the stock price already. So what you need to do is to get the present value minus, the future value minus the dividend payment. And then you'll come up with what you pay for the stock, right? They're already giving you the stock price, right? So it's to get what you would expect to pay the stock to sell immediately after the firm pays its dividend, right? So it's going to be 45.57 times 1.17, which is to get the future value, then minus the dividend, because you're not going to get that, right? You're not going to get the dividend, right? And then this is what you're going to be paying for it. Right? You already know the stock price. So you don't need to do that calculation. You already know the current stock price. Now what you're trying to do is what price must you expect EVGO stock to sell for immediately after the firm pays a dividend in 1 year to justify the current price. So solving the expected price in a year, now you're not going to be getting this dividend. This is not in it, right? So you want the future value of this, right? So it's 45. So to get it, right? Very simple, right? You want to get you could do it 2 ways. You could do it this way, or you can go on your calculator, right? N equals 1, IY equals 17, payment is 0, right? Present value is 45,757, and then compute for future value. Once you get that amount, you subtract 180 from it, and you should come out to 5152.
Professor, can you please explain this again?
You're trying to calculate, it says assume EVCO Inc. has a current stock price of 45.57 and will pay a $1.80 dividend in 1 year. its equity cost of capital is 17%, what price you expect EFCO stock to sell for immediately after the firm pays a dividend in 1 year to justify its current price, right? What you're trying to do, you're trying to calculate how much you're going to be paying for it without this dividend payment, without this $1.80, right? So in 1 year, if it's future, that means you need to get the future value at 17%. The future value at 17%. And then you subtract the 180 from there because you're not going to be getting that. And that's what you expect to pay for it. Let me close this door. Hold on. So when you're doing, you can do it two ways. I prefer to do it on the calculator, right? Because you don't want to, you want to avoid errors, right? So you need to get the present, the future value of this, and then you subtract the dividend payment, right? So N equals 1, IY equals 17, right? Present value is 45.57 and compute for future value. Once you get that amount, you subtract $1.80 from it, and it should give you 51.52. To avoid making mistakes, I tell you, the calculator is your best friend. Now, one thing I'm going to tell everyone, I'm going to say this to everyone, right? When you're using the calculator, one of the things that you have to understand is when you put your answer inside the box right here, right? Watch your commas, watch your decimal points, and do not put decimal signs inside that box, right? If you're going to put a comma, watch where you put it. If you're going to put a decimal point, watch where you put them, right? Because what happens is your answer could be right. However, I'm not checking these grades. I'm not the one checking it. My lab is doing this, right? I'm not the one checking it. So when you get it wrong, what do you want me to do? Right? So be careful. See, if you learn, you get the concept down, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You won't panic, right? You put down your answer, you take your time. But the minute you start second guessing, you start doing things that you normally wouldn't do, you're going to have a problem with this. You're going to have a problem, right? So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to calculate it says right here, assume Sellico pays an annual dividend of $1.52 and has a share of 37 24, it announces that its annual dividend will increase to 177. If its dividend yield stays the same, what should the new price share be? Right? So first thing we're going to do is that we need to calculate the dividend, the rate of return, right? So we're going to say 152 divided by the share price, right? Now it's going to increase the annual dividend. Once we know what the percentage is that we receive, we're going to say 1.77 divided by this number, converted into a decimal, and that's going to give us the new price, right? First thing we do is we want to know the yield, right? So you're working for a company and you get a check from them and you want to know if what they said that the rate of return is really the right number, right? The rate of return. So this is how we would check it. We would say the dividend divided by the price, and then this is what the rate of return will be, right? Now they're telling me that it announces annual dividend will increase. So what would the new share price be? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dividend payment, the increase that I'm going to be getting, and I'm going to divide it by the rate of return. And I should be able to come back to the price, the new price, right? This is simple, but you just gotta know your formulas, right? Very simple. This is not really hard, right? But it's just gotta know your formulas. And when you do homework, all these little, because these are going to be on the quiz, and it might be on the test. Right? So first we're going to calculate the percentage. What is my rate of return? The expected rate, right? Right here. So it's 152 over 37. Now I got that. Now for me to find out the new price, I do the reverse, right? I put the new dividend payment and then I divide it by the rate of return that I had before, right? And then I come out to 43.36.
Professor, is there any way we can do it in the calculator, this question?
I don't think so. Hold on. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then the thing too, this is not one that has a lot of steps, right? This one doesn't have a lot of steps. If you think of a way, let me know. This one doesn't have a lot of steps. This one I'm dividing this dividend by this share price, and I get the amount. And then all I'm doing now is taking this 177, this new dividend increase, and I'm dividing it by 0.4082. Now, when you're doing this on the exam, right? If you get a dividend, for instance, this is 37.24, right? If you get an answer like $443, you know that's wrong. You did something wrong, right? It has to be in the same area as this number, maybe $6, $7 more, and that's it. This can't be 400, this can't be 500, right? Logically, you know that. Because if the dividend was 152 and it jumped up to 177, right? 4%, is that what it is? Right? Or a little bit, oh no, it's not 4%. Whatever the percentage is between this and that, you know that this can't be like $400, right? One of the things that were crazy is one of the questions on the midterm was about the car lease, right? And somebody put $1,000. Now, how can that be possible, right? When the car itself was 27,000, and you were only leasing for 3 years, right? So it can't be. Logically, you got to look at it too and say these answers can't be that. It's impossible for it to be that, right? So it has to be in the same ballpark. Very simple again, right? It says right here, dividend yield, right? So we just divide the dividend by the stock price, and then we get the percentage, the yield, right? So it'll be 6.6.
Professor, can you please go back to question 6?
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. Okay. So this one, it says Krell Industries has a share price of $21.98. If Krell is expected to pay a dividend of 103 this year, and the stock price is expected to grow to 24 at the end of the year, what's Krell dividend yield and equity cost of capital? All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the yield between to get here, right? So it's going to be 103 divided this formula right here, dividend over price, right? So 1.03 divided by 21.98, right? That's my dividend yield, right? Then it says that the price is expected to grow, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the capital gain, new minus old divided by old, and I'm going to get 9.2. That's the capital gain, 9.2. And then the second part is, what's the total rate of return? Well, the total rate of return, are these two numbers. This is just to get you acclimated of how it's done, right? But when you don't know it, it's a big deal, right? When you don't know, you don't know, right? This is to get you acclimated. First, we're going to get the dividend yield on the 2198, right? Meaning the interest. What's the interest? Why am I getting this $1.03? What's the interest rate on that? So I know it's 4%, 4.7%. Then I'm asking to determine the capital gain rate, right? What did I get between the stock price of the price that it grew by, right, and the old price? So new minus old divided by old, right? And then I get the answer. Then I add them together for the total rate of return. And that's it. I can't tell you how many people get this question wrong on the test that this is on there. Right? And the thing too is these formulas don't change when you see the question. They don't change. You just plug them in. They don't change. Now this one is a little tough. This one is with the exponent, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it is. So this one has an exponent, right? It says North Growth Corporation currently pays a dividend of 0.58 per quarter and will continue to pay this dividend forever. What is the price per share of North Growth stock if the firm equity cost of capital is 14.2? Right? So the way we're going to do this, right? We're going to say 1 plus 1, this interest, right? 1 plus 142, right? This is converted into a decimal. And then the exponent of 1.4, which is 0.25. So 1 plus 142, the exponent of 0.25 minus 1, right? And then we come down here, we say 0.58 divided by 0.03375 minus 0. We don't have to put the minus 0 there. It says this dividend forever. So it's giving us our old formula, perpetuity formula. This will be the growth rate. But this is the only thing that it's going to be doing growing by. So this will represent the stock price. Okay, so one more time. Let's do this together. This is the formula right here. 1 plus the rate of return, right here. And then the exponent of 1/4 because it's per quarter. It's per quarter. So 1 plus 142, the exponent of 0.25. Once you get that answer, then you subtract 1 from it, right? And you just bring this down here, right? You say 0.58 divided by 0.03375. And that's your stock price, $17.19.
Professor, how do you do that in the in this calculator?
I believe, hold on, let me look at it. So 1.142. Hold on. Oh yeah. You see the YX? You see the
Yeah.
YX? That's
Yeah.
what you hit.
So you'll put the parentheses.
No, don't put parentheses. You put 1.142,
Okay.
1.142, and then you do XY,
You mean
YX,
Y?
0.25 YX.
Okay, let me try.
Wait. -1. Yes?
I'm sorry. So what's the G in the second equation here?
The G, that's the growth rate, but you don't have that. You don't have one here. You don't have one. So it's 0. That's why it's 0. You get it?
Okay, thanks.
Remember the old formula?
Yeah, I have it.
Right. There's no growth rate.
If we get this question on a quiz, the growth rate is always going to be 0, right?
Yeah, but no, Beta, don't even, not me telling you, but you see it right here. Do you see anything that says growth rate? An amount for a growth rate in this question?
No.
Exactly,
Okay.
right?
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no growth rate here. However, the formula calls for it. And if it did, we just put it down. And this number would be a lot higher because this will be a smaller number, right? And when the denominator is smaller, this becomes a bigger number.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Question me. And you know what? Everybody, we're all adults here. If you have a question, ask me. Ask me. Right? If you're not sure. Because I prefer you asking me now than when, at the end than at the end of the semester. Okay. Now, one of the things that happens when in stocks, right? In when you have stocks and companies are paying out dividends, right? They have what they call retentions, right? What they call retention periods, retention earnings, right? And then what they usually do with that is they reinvest it or they buy capital that they need. When I say capital, I'm talking as an economist. They buy factory equipment. They might even invest in a new chairman, right? They want somebody to bring in somebody new, and they want their leadership to be in a different way. So they got to pay for it, right? Which is a big thing, right? Leadership is a big thing in companies, right? Because if you know someone's at the helm that has strong leadership qualities, right? You would hire them. So sometimes that money could be used for that, right? You want to hire this person because you say, damn, he was at General Motors and he bought them. Look what he did. He knows how to run a company. And it requires a lot of talent. People don't realize that it requires a lot of talent to assemble a great team to make money. That's a talent in itself where you could see stuff like that, right? And you would say, all right, I want this person on my team. She's good at marketing. She's good at delivering, making great sales pitch. He's good at at organizing meetings. He's good in finding the right factories, and he's good at raw material. She's the best you can get as to organize people from other parts of the world, right? It takes a very talented person to do that. Seriously, when you go work for a firm, and sometimes you see, it's like you never know why a coach gets paid that kind of money until you watch a documentary about him and you say, wow, now I get it why he gets paid that kind of money. Because the decisions that he or she makes are so well planned and they so well, they deserve what they're getting. Not all the time, but most of the time. So here we have a retention rate of 40%, which means that at that $4.37, we're going to keep 40% of it. So we're going to say we're going to say 437 times 1 minus 0.40. And we know what that is, 0.60. So we get to keep 60% of that. Okay? So this is what the dividend is going to be paying. 40% of that is kept, right? For whatever reasons that the company wants. And this is the dividend at the end of the year. But here we're going to have the equity cost of capital is 11%, which is also expected a return on new investment. Its earnings are expected to grow forever at a rate of 4.4. Now we have growth. So it's going to be 11%, 2.622 divided by 11% minus 0.044, and that's the stock price. Okay? Now, Beta, this was your question. So is Ethan's. Right? Now you see it. It says right here. You see the growth. This is the growth rate. Right? First thing we do here, right? We're going to get the amount after the retention, right? Which is 60. I want to know how much it is. I don't want to know how much is being retained. I want to know how much is left. So if I want to know how much is left, I have to do 60%. If I want to know the retention amount, I do 40%. That's not what I want. I want to know, it says right here, it says which is planned constant, right? I want to know how much is left. So 60% of $4.37 is $2.622. Then I turn around and I say 11.11 minus, I'm going to convert this into a decimal. So I have to put a 0 in front of it, minus 0.044. And then 0.11 minus 4.044. And then I do my division and I come up with 39.73.
Professor, how we get 0.110?
0.110 is 11% converted into a decimal. Okay? You don't need the 0 behind it. Okay. So it so happened we have a similar question. Somebody give me the answer to this, please. Anybody. What we just did, just do exactly the same thing. What we just did. You don't even have to look back, right? Remember what I said this, with this retention, what we're trying to get. And here's your cost of capital, and here's your growth rate. So everybody should be able to do this.
Is it 26.67?
So what's 0.60 times $4?
$2.4.
Okay. So now do the rest. The growth and the cost of capital.
Okay, I think it's 40.
$40. Good job. Good. And here it is right here. This is not difficult. It's just that you have to do it a couple of times, and then you got to remember the formulas. Okay. Now, this is something that happens all the time on Wall Street, right? Someone has a bright idea. Someone has this bright idea that if they decide to cut dividends, right, they will get a new price, right? And the price should be higher than the old price. If it's not, then we shouldn't do the deal. Now, this one requires a few steps, right? Keep in mind that what this is saying, right? Coopertown Mining just announced it will cut its dividends from $3.99 to $2.28 per share and use the extra funds to expand. Happens all the time. Prior to the announcement, Cooperton's dividends were expected to grow at a rate of 3.1 rate, right? Grow at a 3.1 rate, and its share price was $49.86. Right? With the planned expansion, Cooperton dividends are expected to grow at a 4.8 rate. What share price would you expect after the announcement? Assume that the new expansion does not change Cooperton's risk. Is the expansion a good investment? Right? So let's look at this together. Right? Quite a few steps here. First thing is we need to calculate, right, what the cost of capital was before anything happens, right? We need to capital, cost of capital. So it's 399 over 4986 plus the growth rate, right? So it's 3.99 plus 4986 plus 0.31, which is the expected growth to grow right here. So the cost of capital is 11.1. Now, the dividend payment now, we got this, right? So the dividend, the new one, is 2.28. So what we're going to do is now we're going to calculate the new price. So we got the cost of capital, 11.1%, and then we have the growth, 4.8. So once we get this 228, which is right here, and then we divide it by the new cost of capital plus the growth rate, minus the growth rate, minus the growth rate, we're going to get 36.19. Now, this doesn't sound like a good investment to me because the stock price has gone down and not up. So this is not a good investment. We're going to go over this one more time, a couple of times. Right? So I don't think this is a good investment. And it's not. Let's do that again. Right? So the formula is dividend yield plus growth. So the way we get dividend yield is we say the amount of the dividend divided by the stock price, the share price, right? Plus the growth. So we couldn't convert that. Right here, here's the formula. I'm not making it up. Right? We know what the dividend yield is. We've gone over this. We saw it in the other formulas. I'll show it to you again. Hold on. Here's the dividend yield. That's the formula. 1.41, and there's the price. That's how you get the dividend yield. Right? So this one, you're going to need the calculator because you're going to say 399 divided by 49.86, which is going to give you a very high number, a very low number, right? And then you're going to add that to the 0.031, which is the growth rate. Once you get that 11.1, right, you're going to say what the new share is going to be per dividend, new dividend share per share, right? 0.111, and then the growth right here, 4.8, you convert those into decimals. And then it's going to give you the new stock price. Now, anybody who's investing, if I'm investing in a company and I see that the stock price went down, I'm going to make an about face. The only way that I would stay there is if the stock just split, meaning you get 2-for-1 shares, then the stock went down. I'm all right with that, and they plan to grow. But if it's there already, and you're telling me that you're going to make some new investments, and the new investments are going to be lower than what the stock price is, I'm going to tell you you need to change management because it's not a good investment. So here we have our dividend yield, right? We know what that is. It's the dividend divided by the stock price plus the growth. Then we get 11.1. Once we get that, we take the new dividend payment, the one that we're supposed to be working with, the new one, right? And then we're going to say 228 plus this cost of capital here minus this growth. Yes. Yes, Kristen. Kristen, you had a question? Yes, not. I believe that on your on Blackboard, on the documents, I have the formula sheets, right? And those formulas are on there. But if I were you, right? If betting, if I were you and I was a betting person, I would use these because these are actually showing me what's going on, right? And I'm telling you, doing the exam, it's much better to have a visual, right? When you have a question like this, you have a visual of what's going on. And once you practice this, right, you have a visual, you won't make a mistake. You won't. You know, the mistake, if it'd be very minimal, and it might not even happen because you're going to be sure about what you're going to be doing, right? This number, if this number is higher, then it is a good investment. If this number is lower, then it's not, right? You know, and I know, if we work on Wall Street or we work anywhere, if the company is going to be losing money, then we're not going to get investors. We're not going to get investors. And whoever came up with this idea, this is a bad idea. This is not a good idea. We're not going to make money. Right? And the whole thing about being in business, and you know, and I've said this a million times, is to make money. We're not in it to break even. We're not in it to be in it. We're in it to make money. And anything that's not bringing us cash, your boss, he or she is going to say, I don't want to hear it. Right? How much money did we make? When you start bringing in money into the institution, man, you're going to get promoted. You're going to make it. You thinking in new ways, new ideas, that means you're thinking. Right? This person was thinking, but they didn't think this out. They didn't think this all the way out. All right. So before the beginning of the class, I said that the midterm is going to be on the 25th during class time, right? And it consists of 25 questions. The reason why I did 25 is because we have a few questions, maybe about 6 to 8 questions, I believe, from the midterm, right? Which will give everybody a fair chance. And I'm not going to tell you what the gimme question was. You should know it by now if you've been coming to class, right? So get it from one of your colleagues. I'm not going to say it anymore, right? You come to class, you will know. But if you watch the old recordings, you'll see what the gimme question is. And another thing too, the questions that I'm going to release the midterm because everybody has taken it. You'll be able to see it. And you can go over it because the questions that I chose came from the midterm. All right? So that's it. So I assigned the homework. Listen, one more thing. Don't leave yet. Next week on chapter 9, you're going to have the quiz and the homework due on the same week. All right, but we're going to go over it. I'm not going to let you by yourself. You know better. So we're going to go over it. All right? Okay. I'm supposed to meet with someone? Yes. Okay. Kristen, hang out?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Professor.
All right. Bye, baby.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Very welcome, Sorel.
Good night, Professor. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Rosario. Kristen, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we're being recorded. I just want you to know that. So I'm gonna try to let's just wait a few minutes, couple of minutes, so anybody sees it, they think it's over. All
You
right.
mean would be mean like if the person pulls up the recording like from the class,
Yeah. Let
just
me.
ends up on it?
Yeah. Like, can we go? You know how to go into the course room? Let me open that up. You know how to do that?
Oh, course room.
Hey, Mom,
Stop that.
I found the
Go
green.
sorry.
I found the green thing.
Go to
that
sleep.
turns it on.
Okay, get out of here, Rapunzel.
If you go into Blackboard, right?
Yes,
You're going to see a course room.
yes.
You see that?
Okay. Blackboard.
I'm gonna open that up right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if you don't see it,
Blackboard.
and you see course room,
Virtual classroom? Course room, yes.
yeah, okay, go into that. I'm gonna go in there now myself.